Hi, my name is David Swanson, and this training video is on how to install Mail-in-a-Box. Mail-in-a-Box is a free open source software that allows you to have your own email server. Mail-in-a-Box also includes Nextcloud, which is a secure cloud server. It allows you to upload files, share them, create folders. You can put together a group. Let's say you have an HR department and you want to create an HR folder and share it with just those HR employees. You can do that. It's a great backup utility and it's free. It comes with Mail-in-a-Box. Their syncing utility works with Windows, Linux, and Mac. So they've got you pretty much covered and it's free. One of the best things about using Mail-in-a-Cloud is you own the server. You are the only one that has access to the server unless, of course, you create additional admins. And the best part is, other than the server, which if you're using the $5 server on Amazon AWS, that's it. Another reason why you would want to have Mail-in-a-Box is if you're using Google Gmail, the free version, and you're a small business, and let's say you have johndoe@gmail.com and that's your business email address, it doesn't look that professional. Here you get to register your own unique domain name. I'm going to show you how to do that in Amazon AWS Route 53 on how to register your own domain name. So you can have a professional domain name and have unlimited email addresses for your small business. With all that said, let's jump in and start installing Mail-in-a-Box. The first thing we're going to do is create a free Amazon AWS account. In your browser, enter aws.amazon.com/Lightsail. On the Lightsail homepage, click Sign Up. And on the Sign Up page, just enter in your credentials to create your free account. Just a side note, when you're entering your email address, make sure you enter an email address that you have access to. Amazon AWS is going to send you an email to verify that you're a real person. So the email address that you're going to be setting up in a Mail-in-a-Box, you may not have access to just yet. So make sure you're using a functioning email address. Here you can see I'm using a password generator. I like to use a password generator to create a secure password for my accounts. Once you have the password entered, you're going to enter an account name. It can be really anything. I like to use my company name, BitsVital. From there, you're going to be sent over to the contact information page. You're going to enter your basic contact information. When you're entering your telephone number, make sure it's a telephone number that you have access to. Most likely your mobile number, because Amazon's going to call you and verify that this is a real number and that you're a real person. So once you have your contact information entered, you're going to click on Create Account and Continue. The next screen, Amazon's going to ask you to enter in your credit card information. It's not going to be charged, but they do want to verify, one, that you do have a valid payment method, and two, that, again, that you're a real person and you're not looking to just set up a robot account. So once you have your credit card information in, you'll click Secure Submit. It's going to save your credit card information so that once your server is up and running, on the next billing cycle is when you're most likely going to be charged. And so once you click on Secure Submit, you'll be taken to the screen where you verify again that you're not a robot and you have to enter in the code, which I absolutely hate these. I never seem to be able to get them right on the first try, but once you click Submit here, Amazon's going to call that telephone number that I was speaking about earlier to verify that you're a real person. Once Amazon calls you, you're going to enter the 4 digits that are being displayed on your screen. Once you enter those digits, the screen will automatically change and show that you have been verified. And just like that, you are verified. So now the next screen, Amazon AWS is going to ask you what kind of support plan you require. I choose free. And from here, we can now log into our Amazon AWS Lightsail account. To do this, we'll click on My Account up in the top right-hand corner, and then we'll click on AWS Management Council. This will take us to the initial login screen where we will enter the email address that we used to create the account. We'll then enter the password that we used. And from here, it will take us to the AWS Management Council dashboard. On the AWS main dashboard, we're going to go ahead and enter Route 53. That's the service that we want to use to register our domain name. We'll click on Route 53, which will take us to the main Route 53 screen. And under DNS Management, we're going to go ahead and click on Get Started Now. On the left-hand menu, you're going to click on Register Domains, and then up at the top, you're going to click the blue button, Register Domain. Here you can do a search for whatever domain name that you want to use to see if it's available. This is where you get to be unique and creative. For example, my family uses wildernessfamily.me. And as you can see as I'm scrolling down, the ending to your domain name can be unique as well. Like I said on mine, I use .me, but you could use .com, you could use .football, .accountant, .attorney, .basketball. Each of these TLDs, though, that you need to be aware of, they have a different price associated to them. Some of them are inexpensive, and some of them can be quite expensive. Maybe you're a sailor and you want to use .voyage for a sailing blog. There's numerous ones that you can choose from, so whatever one that best fits your needs and your budget as well. For this example, we're going to use for my business and for my class here on Skillshare, I'm going to use BitsVital.xyz. This is going to be my testing domain. And as you can see, it was available, and once I chose it, now I have to enter in the contact information that's associated with this domain name. So I'll be entering in my information. Not on all domains, but on most domains, there's a feature that Amazon AWS gives for free, and that is privacy protection. You definitely want to enable this. There's a lot of hosts out there that allow you to register domain names, and most charge for this service. Amazon gives it to you free of charge, and it's something you definitely want to enable. That way, when someone's looking up to see who the owner of your domain name is, they can't see your email address, which for the most part, most people use to spam you and send you advertisements, so it helps to cut down on spam mail. So you definitely want to enable that free feature that Amazon AWS gives you. So once you have your domain name registered, you'll go ahead and click on Go to Domain Names, and there you can see that there's your domain name, and it's in the process of being registered. Over at the top right is the refresh button, and you can click on that from time to time to see once your domain name has been registered. It can take anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes to a few hours, but once it's registered, once you don't see it in that field, you'll click on Registered Domains, and there you can see your domain name as registered, and then you can click on it. You'll be able to see the details of your domain name. Now, when you register your domain name, Amazon AWS is going to send you an email to verify the email address that you entered in the contact information. It's very important that you click on the link in that email to verify that the email address is correct. Of course, you can change it later, but you definitely want to click on that. In other words, your domain name will be suspended because as far as Amazon regards it, it's a domain name created by a robot, and then you won't be able to use your domain name. So make sure you click on that verified domain name. Now we can go into the Amazon AWS Lightsail service. To do that, we'll click on Services up at the top left hand corner, and then we'll click on Lightsail. Once Lightsail comes up, we can click on our native language support that we want to use. For me, of course, it's going to be English, and then it gives us our welcome screen, which we can click on Let's Get Started Now. And the first screen we see is where we create a instance. Instance is just another word for virtual private server. It's what Amazon AWS uses for a VPS. Our virtual private server is going to be the mail-in-the-box server that's hosted on Amazon AWS. Our first choice is to choose the location of our server. We'll click on Change AWS Region and Availability Zone. I choose Montreal, Canada, but there's different reasons why you would choose different locations. You may want a server that's closer to where you're located at. That way you get a quicker response from your server. Maybe because of privacy laws that you want to choose Europe. I like the privacy laws in Canada, and it's centrally located, so I choose Montreal, Canada for my servers. We're going to scroll down, and Mail-in-a-Box is based on Linux, so we're going to choose Linux, and then we're going to choose OS only, and we're going to choose Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. That's what Mail-in-the-Box will work on. Then we're going to choose the $5 instance. The $5 instant plan is perfect for a beginner server. It depends on how many email addresses you're going to be creating, how many emails you're receiving, and if you're moving over from another box, how much storage space you're going to require. The $5 one includes 1 CPU, 1 gigabyte of memory, and 40 gigabytes of space. So if this is a brand new email address and you're only housing maybe 20 or less email addresses, and again, it depends on how many emails you're receiving as well, but the $5 plan should be perfect for small businesses and individuals. The other good thing about Amazon AWS is that as your business grows, or as your family grows, or as your needs grow, you can easily upgrade to the next plan without having to reinstall your entire server. All you have to do is just click a button to shut it down, increase the size, click start, reboot the server, and you're up and running, and you've got the additional space, the additional CPU and RAM that you're needing. So Amazon AWS makes it really easy to move forward with your business or your needs when it comes to Mail-in-a-Box. Next, we need to give our instance a name. I like to give it the domain name that we will be using. Mail-in-a-Box suggests using box. I've used Office as the subdomain. It makes no difference, but for this, we'll just use what Mail-in-the-Box suggests using, and that's box as the subdomain. So I'm going to be using box.bitsvital.xyz as my instance. And now we can click on Create Instance. Once we create the instance, Amazon AWS is going to configure and create our server. As you can see, it's pending. You'll give it a few seconds to maybe a few minutes, refresh your browser page, and you'll see it go from pending to running. Now that we have our server up and running, we need to do a little configuration. The first thing what we're going to do is give it its own static IP address. Think of it as its own home address. That way, if you turn off the server and turn it back on, the address doesn't change and your mail doesn't get lost. So to do this, we'll click on our server, we'll go over to networking, click on networking, and then under IP addresses, we're going to click on the Create Static IP Address button. We're going to scroll down and we give this static IP address a name. I normally just call it static.my domain name, so in this instance static.bitsvital.xyz, but it can be anything, just anything that would help you recognize what this IP address is. We'll scroll down and we'll click on the Create button, and a static IP address, a public static IP address has been generated. Now we're going to configure the firewall by clicking on Home. We're going to click on our server again, and we're going to click on Networking, and we'll scroll down under Firewall. Now, Mail-in-a-Box comes with its own software firewall. AWS also has a firewall, but we're going to turn off the AWS firewall by clicking on the drop-down button. We're going to choose All TCP UDP and click on Save. When we do this, it opens up all the ports, as you can see. This way, Mail-in-a-Box is going to control what ports are open, and we turn off the AWS firewall so they don't interfere with each other. Now we're going to create a DNS zone, kind of like an address book for your IP address. To do this, we'll click on Home up at the top center of your screen, and then we're going to choose Networking. Make sure you don't click on your instance in Networking. This is going to be the main networking. Then we're going to click on Create DNS Zone, and then under Enter your domain name, or enter your domain you have registered, enter the domain name that you registered on Route 53. For me, it's bitsvital.xyz. We're going to scroll down, and then we're going to click on Create DNS Zone. We're going to add our very first record to our address book, per se, that's needed to install Mail in a Box. We're going to create an A record, and then we're going to choose box, as Mail in a Box suggests using box as the subdomain. And then we're going to choose the name of the static IP address that we had previously created. Some hosts you have to type in the IP address. Amazon AWS makes it quite easy. So now that we have the A record created, we can click on Home, which brings us back to our main screen of Lightsail. We're going to do one additional step. When I first created the video, I left this out, and it's just a good idea just to verify and make sure that they are correct. And that's to make sure the name servers match up in Lightsail to Route 53. To do this, all we're going to do is just click on Networking on the very home screen of Lightsail. We're going to click on our domain name under DNS zones. And I've already got additional records created, so just ignore those for now. But let's scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to see your name servers. You're going to see 4 of them. Then you're going to click on AWS at the top right-hand side, which is going to open up a new tab in your browser. We're going to click on Services, and we're going to go back into Route 53. Over on the left-hand side, we're going to click on Registered Domains. You're going to see the domain name that you had previously registered. You're going to click on it. And then over on the right-hand side, you're going to see Name Servers. You're going to click on Add or Edit Name Servers. And then just verify that they are the correct name servers. If they're not, just erase the name server, copy the name server, paste it in, do the same for the second one, the third one, and the fourth one, and click Update. And that's all you need to do. And then we'll continue from our video from the very home screen of Lightsail. So you'll click on Home again and take you back to the home screen where we'll continue. Before installing Mail in a Box, it's always a good idea to go over to Mail in a Box website, which is mailinabox.email, clicking on Setup Guide over on the right-hand side, and then under the Mail in a Box Setup Guide, scrolling down to the section called Setting Up the Box. Under Setting Up the Box, the second line of code is the installation script that we're going to need. That is all that is required to install Mail in a Box. So we're going to copy that, click on the terminal icon in Lightsail, which will bring up a new window giving us access to our server. We're going to click on the clipboard icon, which is the paste icon. We're going to paste in that line of code, click back on the window, right click, which will copy in that line of code, and we're going to press Enter. This is going to start the installation process of Mail in a Box. During the installation process, it's going to take about 5 to 20 minutes, just depending on your server performance and how fast it installs. But it's going to ask you just a couple basic questions. It's going to ask you the initial email address that you would like, and that will be using that new unique domain name that you just created. So maybe something like johnsmith@yourdomainname.com. I'm going to be using david@bitsvital.xyz. First screen comes up, and it's going to just say that it's going to ask you a few questions. All you need to do is press Enter, and then it's going to ask you for that email address. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my email address that I initially want to use, which is going to be the david@bitsvital.xyz. mail-in-a-box.xyz, and then I'm going to go ahead and press enter. Then it's going to ask what the host name of our server is going to be. Now, mail-in-a-box suggests using the subdomain box. I normally use Office, but for this lesson we're going to stick with what mail-in-a-box suggests and use box. It can also be changed very easily in the future, but again, for this lesson we'll use what mail-in-a-box suggests, and we're going to go ahead and choose type in box dot our domain name. So this will be your domain name. Don't use BitsVital.xyz. This is your domain name that you just registered. So box dot your domain name dot whatever you chose, and then go ahead and press enter, which will continue the installation process. The next question is the time zone that your server's in, and so you'll want to go and make the best choice for where your server or where you're located at. For this example, I'm in Mountain Time Zone, so I'm going to go ahead and choose Mountain Time Zone. And last but not least, it's going to ask you to enter a password for your email address. And you're going to want to click on the clipboard icon, enter the password that you want to set for your email address, click on the window, right click to paste it, right click again to paste it again, and press enter. Congratulations, you installed Mail-in-a-Box. It was that simple. We're going to do one more additional step. We're going to unlock the admin features of Nextcloud. And to do this, you're going to copy over the unlock code, which is on your screen, or you can find in the PowerPoint presentation that I have attached to this lesson, followed by the email address that you set up with Mail-in-a-Box. Once you have that typed in, press enter, and this is going to unlock the admin features of Nextcloud. Doing so, now we'll be able to install apps that Nextcloud supports. And that's it. You've installed Mail-in-a-Box. Now that we have Mail-in-a-Box installed, let's go to the admin portal and we can install an SSL certificate for our domain name. To do this, we're going to open up a new browser window and type in our subdomain, which is, for me, box.bitsvital.xyz/admin. The very first time that you type this in to your browser, you're going to see that the connection is not secure. We're going to add an exception because the very first thing we're going to do is install an SSL certificate from Let's Encrypt. Each browser is a little different on how you add the exception. For me, I'm using Firefox, and I click on Advanced and then Add Exception, and then install the certificate that's generated by Mail-in-a-Box. Once I do this, this gives me access to the admin portal of Mail-in-a-Box. This brings us to the login screen, where you'll enter your email address that you used to set up Mail-in-a-Box and the password, and then you'll go ahead and click Sign In. Once you're logged in, the very first screen you're going to see is the System Status Check. We want to click on System and then TLS SSL Certificates. Underneath Provision Certificates, you're going to see a blue button called Provision. You're going to want to click on that, and that's going to provision an SSL certificate for your domain name from Let's Encrypt. It does it automatically. It's super easy. It takes just a few moments, and once it's provisioned, you'll see that it's in green. Go ahead and refresh your browser page, and you'll see that you now have a green padlock, and you won't get that error any longer that says that you have an insecure connection. Mail-in-a-Box has a built-in DNS server. We're not going to use the built-in DNS server. There's reasons why you would want to use it for simplicity, and there's reasons why you don't want to use it. And that's if your server ever goes down, then your domain name and anything associated with it. So for example, if you have also a website, not just your Mail-in-a-Box, but let's say you have a website as well, then everything goes down. So it's better to use an external DNS service, in my opinion. And so we're going to go ahead and use Amazon AWS. One, you have multiple domain name servers. So if one of Amazon's servers goes down, you've got 3 other backups. And that's what we did with the name servers. So this next step is probably the most complicated step out of the entire process of installing Mail-in-a-Box. However, it's just cut and paste. And the reason why I say it's complicated is if you've never seen a DNS record, it may scare you a little bit. It may look confusing. Rest assured, I'm going to walk you through it, and it is very simple. All you're doing is copying and pasting. And once you've got the first few records done, that's it. Let's begin. To begin, click on System from the top menu, and then click on External DNS. Under QName, you're going to see your domain name in bold with several records underneath it. So to begin, we're going to go ahead and copy the IP address of your main domain name. We're going to head back over to Lightsail. We're going to go ahead and click on Networking, and then under DNS Zone, we're going to click on your domain name. We're going to go ahead and click on Add a Record, and you can see a record's already been selected, and we're going to go ahead and place an @ sign. All the @ sign is doing is saying that we're not using a subdomain like we did previously when we added box, when we created the a record for box.yourdomainname.com. So since we're not adding a subdomain, we have to enter something, so we're going to enter the @ sign. Then we can go ahead and paste over the IP address where it says resolved to, and Amazon AWS is automatically going to change that over to the static IP address that we have assigned that instance. Now, some hosting providers will make you copy in the actual IP address. Amazon AWS makes it very simple where you don't even need to copy it. You can just click on the field and choose the static IP address name. Click on the green button to click Save, and then head back over to the Mail-in-the-Box admin portal. Next, we'll do an MX record. We're going to go ahead and copy just the first portion of this domain name, box.bitsvital.xyz, or whatever yours might be, box.yourdomainname.com. We're going to choose from the drop-down box an MX record. We're going to go ahead and type in the @ sign again, the priority 10, and then we'll paste in what we copied and click on the green sign, and we've created our first MX record. We're going to go ahead and skip over this one since we've already created this record when we first set up Mail-in-a-Box. As you can see, we already created the box.yourdomainname.com. Next, we're going to do another MX record. We'll copy, click Add Record. We're going to choose an MX record. We're going to paste in the information, put in 10 for the priority, and this one's asking us to put in box. And then we'll go ahead and click on Save. We'll go back over and we're going to create our first text record. So we're going to copy in the information. We'll go over to Lightsail, click Add Record, choose a text record, type in or paste in the information. As we can see, it's again pointed to the main domain name, so we're going to just enter an @ sign, click on the green button to save it, go back over and do another text record, copy the information, go over to Lightsail, create a new text record, paste in the information, copy the subdomain portion, go back over to Lightsail, paste in the subdomain, and click the green check mark. Once in a while, you'll have to click the refresh button. Sometimes Amazon doesn't always update when you're entering the information, so you'll have to click the refresh button to make sure that your records are saving from time to time. The next record is a little bit different. So let's jump back over to the admin portal to the external DNS. And as you can see, we have a really long text record. And because it's more than 255 characters, the DNS is not going to take that in a text record. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to copy about a half of it. I just find something that I can remember where I left off, so I'm using this / and I'm going to copy. I'm going to head back over to Lightsail, add a new record. I'm going to choose a text record. I'm going to paste that first portion in, then I'm going to press the enter key to give me a line break. I'm going to head back over. I'm going to copy the next half of the text record here. I'm going to paste that in on that new line break. Jump back over. I'm going to copy the subdomain. And hit the green check mark. And there we have it. Now, let me show you what would have happened if I didn't use the line break. If I can copy here. There we go. Copy. I'm going to come over here and add a new record. I'm going to add a text record. I'm going to paste that entire text record into here. I'm going to then click out of that field, and as you can see, Amazon AWS gives us an error that's saying that the text record has to be no more than 255 characters. Another way you could do it is just scroll up here and well, let me try that again. Scroll up here and do a line break and press the enter key, and then copy in your subdomain. And since we've already added this record, I'm just going to go ahead and delete the record. Next we have is the two server records. So again, we're going to copy the subdomain. We'll head over to Lightsail, create a new record, choose a server record, paste in the subdomain, and here again we've got a little bit different. It's got three different fields that we have to enter. So 00 port 443, and then we'll copy over the domain name here, which is going to be the box.whateveryourdomainname.com. And we'll click the green check mark, and we'll do another server record by clicking on add record. We'll go ahead and copy over the subdomain. Head back over to Lightsail, click add record, choose a server record, paste in the subdomain, and again we've got to get the priority, the weight, and the port, which is again going to be 00443. Copy over where it maps to. Paste that in, click the green check mark, and there you have it. That is the most complicated part of configuring mail in a box. Now you're going to continue copying and pasting the records. There are two types of records you're going to skip. Do not copy and paste the SSHFP records and the TLSA records. There's most likely going to be 3 of the SSHFP records and 2 of the TLSA records. Amazon AWS Lightsail does not support those 2 types of records. Once you finish copying and pasting the records, you're done. And you've done it. Great job. And here is all of our records that we've created in Lightsail. Now let's head back over to Mail in a Box admin portal. We'll go up to the top menu, we'll click on System and Status Check, and we're going to check the status of our server. With entering the DNS records, it may take a few hours for them to come online to be able to go live. So give it a few hours if you still see some of the records in red. One of the other things that we want to do is we want to enable new version check. And to do that, click on Enable New Version Check over on the right-hand side. And last but not least, let's reboot the mail-in box server to apply our settings. And click on the Reboot box and Reboot Now. Now that we have our server rebooted, we're going to remove the email sending limitations that Amazon has placed on our server. Amazon does this to limit spamming, and they want to know what you're going to be using your email server for. So to do this, we're going to head over to the Amazon AWS Request to Remove Email Sending Limitations form. I'll place a link to this down in the Skillshare description. It's just going to ask you for basic information, including your IP address. And to get your IP address, again, you'll go over to Lightsail, click on Home, and you'll see your public IP address in the right-hand corner of your instance. You'll copy that, paste that in, and then it's going to ask you for the reverse DNS record. And that is the name of your server. It's going to be that subdomain.yourdomainname, which in this case is box.yourdomainname.com, or in my case, box mail.bitsvital.xyz. Once you have that completed, click submit, and it takes Amazon pretty quick most of the time in my cases, usually within a few hours. It could take up to 2 days, but they do a pretty good job on removing the limitations or requesting additional information. Now that we have Mail in a Box installed, let me show you how we can add new users, aliases, and additional domain names with email addresses under those new domain names. To do this, go ahead and click on Mail from the top main menu, and then click on Users. To add a new user, go ahead and enter a new email address for the new user followed by your domain name. For my example, I'm going to use john.doe@bitsvital.xyz. Once you've entered the email address, go ahead and give the new user a password. And then once you have the password entered, you'll choose if you want to make this user a normal user or an administrator. An administrator will have access to this admin portal of Mail in a Box. Click OK, and now under the domain name you can see that the new user has been added to Mail in a Box. As a side note, remember to give the new user their password, as Mail in a Box does not send them their password. Now let me show you how we can add an alias. An alias is an email address that forwards to another email address. So for example, if you have a small business and you want to set up some professional email addresses like sales@your-domain-name or support@your-domain-name or info@your-domain-name, but you don't want to manage all these email addresses, you can set up an alias. So you could set up sales@your-domain-name.com and forward it to your email address. That way you have a professional email address and the customer doesn't know that it's not being sent to an individual email address. It's actually being sent to your email address. Or, for example, maybe you have a staff, support staff of 4 or 5 people, and the emails that come to support@your-domain-name.com, you want them to be all sent to those 5 people, which you could set up an alias for as well. So to do this, click on Mail from the top menu, and then click on Aliases. To add the alias, enter the email address that you want to create. For example, support@your-domain-name.com. For my example, I'm going to enter support@bitsvital.xyz. And then you want to enter the forwarding email address where you want the emails from support@your-domain-name.com to go to. For my example, to my email address, david@bitsvital.xyz. And then click on Add Alias. Under your domain name, you can see the different aliases that are set up. Now, Mail in a Box automatically creates some default aliases that are required for your email, like postmaster, abuse, admin, and administrator. So now that we've set up aliases and users, let me show you how we can add an additional domain name. Mail in a Box has the potential to support unlimited domain names, just depending on your server. To add an additional domain name, we can do it 2 different ways. The first way I'll show you is by clicking on Mail and then clicking on Users. First thing we'll do is enter the new email address for the new user with the new domain name. So for my example, I'm going to use david@your-domain.com. Then I'm going to go ahead and enter the new password for the new user. And then I'll choose if I'm going to make this user a normal user or an administrator. In this case, I'm just a normal user. And then I'll go ahead and click on Add User. The new user is going to be added, plus the new domain name is going to be added into Mail in the Box, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK and scroll down, and I can see that the new domain name with the associated email address has been added to Mail in a Box. Now I need to set up the DNS for the new domain name. To do this, I'm going to click on System External DNS. I'm going to scroll down, and as I scroll down, I can see that my new domain name has been added to Mail in a Box. And just like we did previously, we're going to copy and paste these records into Lightsail. We'll have to add a new DNS zone, and then we'll copy and paste those DNS records into Lightsail. Now let me show you how we can do it by adding an alias. By adding a new alias, we can also add a new domain name. To do this, we'll click on Mail, Alias, and then we're going to enter the new email address with the new domain name, just kind of like how we did it with adding a new user. So in this example, I'm going to enter david@123mydomain.com. I'm going to put in the email address that I want it to forward to, which is my normal email address, david@bitsvital.xyz. I'm going to then go ahead and click on Add Alias. It's going to add the new email address and it's going to add the new domain name. As we can see that the email address and the domain name has been added. Again, we're going to go ahead and click on OK. We can go ahead and scroll down, and now we can see that the new domain name has been added with the associated email addresses, including our other domain name we had just added. Now we'll click on System, External DNS. We'll scroll down and we can see that the new domain name that we added as an alias has been added to our DNS server. And once again, we need to copy and paste those records over into Lightsail. We'll create a new DNS zone and then copy and paste those records so that the internet knows where to send our email. Now that we have Mail in a Box installed and configured, let's go into the browser mail interface. To do this, I'm going to open up a new tab in my browser. I'm going to type in box.bitsvital.xyz, the subdomain, followed by mail. This is going to bring us into Roundcube. We're going to enter our username, which is the email address that we have set up, and the associated password to our email address. And we'll go ahead and click Login. Once we're logged into the Roundcube email interface, we can click on Compose, which is going to bring up the Compose window where we can send a new email. Let me just show you what that looks like. It's pretty standard where you can enter a to email address, the body of the text. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here. Let me show you how we can create an email folder to store particular emails in. I'm going to go ahead and click on Manage Folder, click on the plus sign. I'm going to create a new folder called Important. Once I got that typed in, I'm going to click on Save. I'm going to click on the Roundcube icon up in the top left-hand corner. That brings us back to the main interface. And then over on the left-hand side, you can see that the new folder has been created. And I can drag and drop emails there. Over on the top right-hand, I'm going to click on Settings. One of the things I like is clicking on User Interface and changing it to the classic look. It's whatever your preference is. I just like the classic look better. Once I have that changed and click Save, it automatically reverts to the classic look, which then I can work my way through the settings and change it to however I would like my individual interface to look and function as well. When I click on Identities, this is where you can set up a signature for your email address. I'm going to put in my name for my display name. Of course, if you have an organization, you can enter an organization name. I'm going to click on the Signature tab. That way I can add a signature to my email address. I'm going to click on the HTML signature box. That way it'll give me the what you see, what you get menu. That way I can add color, enhance my signature to however I'd like it. I'm going to go back and compose a new email, and as you can see, it's still showing plain text. So to make it an HTML email, I'm going to have to click on Settings, Compose Message, and then I'm going to choose Add an HTML email when I'm sending an email, unless the email that I received is in plain text. That's just saying that if someone is sending me a plain text email, they may not be able to receive HTML emails, and so I'm not going to respond with an HTML signature. I'm also going to choose as my contact address book OwnCloud, which is also known as Nextcloud, which will be the next item that I'm going to show you, is how to add contacts to your address book. So now when I compose an email, you can see that my email is in HTML. Now let me go ahead and send a test email to myself. I'm going to put in my email address, david@bitsvital.xyz, just to send me an email. That way I can show you what an email looks like when it comes in. I just sent it, and there you can see the email has been received. And when I click on it, you can see my HTML signature at the bottom of my email. And of course, you have the standard icons to be able to reply, forward. Now that I've shown you the email client, let me show you Nextcloud. To access Nextcloud, let's open up a new tab. and let's put in the host name of our mail in a box. For me, it's box.bitsvital.xyz, and then we're going to add a /cloud. So for you, you'll put in box.yourdomainname.com/cloud, which will bring us to the login screen of Nextcloud. Then we'll put in our username, which of course is our email address, and the password associated with our email address, and then we'll go ahead and click login, which will bring us to the cloud storage area of Nextcloud. If you've ever used Google Drive or Dropbox, it's a lot like those services. So here I got folders and files. It's got a media plugin, so if I'm watching a video or I have a video uploaded to the cloud storage, I can click on it and it's going to play the video right inside Nextcloud. I can create folders by just clicking the plus icon. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder called Marketing. I can share that folder with my marketing department so that the users of my marketing department has access to the files in that folder. I can create another folder called HR and do the very same thing. Share that folder with my HR department so that we all have access to the files. I'm going to go ahead and just open up a file explorer with my Mac, or if you're on a PC with your PC. I'm going to just upload a picture of me and my 2 dogs. And you can do that right here in a browser, or you can use the Nextcloud Sync utility, which I'll show you here in a moment on how to download and install. I can click right on the picture, and in my browser it'll display the picture. And while I'm looking at the picture, it even gives me the easy accessibility to be able to share that picture, delete it, download it, or of course while I'm in the browser window, I can also share the file or be able to delete it, move it, download it, just like if you're using Google Drive or Dropbox services. The next one I'm going to show you is the gallery icon, which is a lot like Google Photos. It's going to display all your photos and images that you've uploaded into Nextcloud, and that way you can share and be able to view all your photos. If you're using the smartphone application, it also has the feature where when you're taking a picture on your smartphone or tablet, it automatically uploads that image into Nextcloud for a backup service. So again, it's just like using Google Photos. Next, let me show you contacts. I'm going to click on the contact icon up in the top left-hand corner, and then I'm going to go ahead and add myself as a contact by clicking New Contact. And just an FYI, when I add a contact here in Nextcloud, my contacts will show up in my email client as long as I go into settings and choose OwnCloud as my address book. OwnCloud is just another name for Nextcloud. Once I add myself here in Nextcloud, it does take a little time, a couple hours, to show up in my email client. If I do it the other way around, where I'm adding a contact from the email client, it will automatically, almost immediately, show up here in Nextcloud. As you can see, as I'm adding myself, not all fields display. I'm just choosing the fields that I want to use for my contact. I know that some databases will show like birth date, and I usually rarely use birth date, so it just clutters up the screen. So Nextcloud makes it really simple to be able to add a contact. Nextcloud also is a card DAV so that it can sync with third-party applications. So now let me show you how we can add a contact here in the email client. I'm going to pop back over to the email client, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new contact, John Doe. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save to add the contact, and there you see that I have John Doe. And now if I go over to Nextcloud and refresh my browser, not only do I have myself added, but John Doe also shows up in the contact database of Nextcloud with all the information that I entered on John Doe. Now if I move my mouse down to the bottom left and click on Settings, then the 3-dot menu icon, and click Copy Link, this is going to copy the link to the contact database that I can use in third-party applications. Towards the end of this class, I'll show you how we can set up a third-party application, but for now I'm going to move on over and show you the calendar feature. I'm going to go ahead and click on the calendar icon up in the top left-hand corner, which will bring up our calendar application. And over on the left-hand side, you can see that a personal calendar has already been created. If I click on the three-dot menu icon, I can edit my calendar. I can choose my own personal color that I would like to use for this calendar. And then down at the bottom, I can click on settings. And for right now, I'm just going to show you the import calendar button. If you're using Google Calendar, you can import your Google Calendar, very simple, into Nextcloud. All you do is just copy the CalDAV address of the Google Calendar and paste it in. And your Google Calendar or any other third-party application that uses CalDAV will be able to work with Nextcloud. Next, let me show you how we can add an appointment. It's very simple. I'm just going to click on a date in the calendar. I'm going to type the event, and for this I'm just going to put a test appointment. I'm going to unclick the all-day event. I'm going to choose a time for the event, and then I'm going to choose an end date or end time. Click on more so I can add additional details if I'd like to this event. I can also repeat this event, and for this test appointment I'm going to go ahead and just have it repeat 3 times. Click on create, and you can see that it automatically creates 3 appointments for us since I chose repeat. So the Nextcloud calendar is has quite a lot of functions to it, and it's very robust. I love it. And I can create additional calendars. I can click on new calendar, and let's say I want to create a work calendar just for my work appointments. I can create a calendar, let's say if I have a family and my kids are in soccer and I want to just keep the soccer appointments separate from my work and personal calendar and then share that with my family. I can do that as well. I can also create another calendar just called family and share that with all my family members, so that each family member has their own username and password or email address to our Nextcloud account, and then we all share the family calendar. Now from calendar, let's take a look at settings. I'm going to go ahead and click on my initial in the top right hand corner, and I'm going to go ahead and click on settings. As you can see, Nextcloud comes with a plethora of different settings that you can change. You can make this work however your business works or however your family works. It's totally up to you. I'm not going to go through all the settings. I'm going to go ahead and click on my initial again and click on apps. Nextcloud comes with a lot of apps, and then you can also install additional apps. Nextcloud has official apps that are created by Nextcloud, and then a lot of third-party apps. One of the ones I like to enable right off the bat is PDF Viewer. That way if I click on a PDF in the storage area of Nextcloud, it displays the PDF in my browser. If I click on customization, it gives the different categories of the apps. And another one that I like to enable is App Order, and that way I can change the layout of the icons in the top left hand corner to however I like them. Then there's External Sites is another app that I like to install, and if I click on show description, it's going to give you a description of that particular app, so you can take a look at what that app does before installing it. If I click on Office and Text over on the left hand side, as it's populating here, there's one called Collabora Online, and it's kind of like Google Docs, Google Sheets, which is a lot like Microsoft Excel. I'm going to do a Skillshare class just on how to install Collabora Online later, so keep an eye out for that. There's also an official mail app. It's not my favorite right now. It still is a little buggy, but it's coming along. And then another one that I always install is Notes, and my favorite is Tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and enable those two, and then once enabled, I can click on the Notes icon now that it's displayed up in the top left hand corner. And I can click on New Note and add a brand new note to Nextcloud and keep my notes organized in category lists as well. Now let's take a look at the Tasks section. I'm going to go ahead and click on the task icon up in the top left hand corner. You can now see that our calendars that we created in the Calendar app is displayed. I can click on my personal calendar and I can create a task that's under my personal calendar. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and create a task that's called Buy New Shoes for Work. And once I have the task entered, I can press enter, which then will give me additional options for the task, like what day the task is on, if it's an all-day task, the priority of the task, and if I want to add notes or even a category for that task. Now that I've got the task entered, I can even add an additional task if I'd like. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and put take the dogs to the vet, and then once I have that entered, again I'm going to press the enter key, which will give me additional options, and again I can set the day that I want this task on, if it's an all-day event, or I'm sorry, all-day task, and then the priority of the task, and then it's associated with my personal calendar. Now that I've shown you Nextcloud, let's take a look at Nextcloud's official software, including their syncing utility for Windows PC, Apple, and Linux, and then also their apps for Android, iOS, Apple, and Windows phones and tablets. To do this, let's go ahead and open up a new tab in our browser and then go to nextcloud.com. Then we'll go ahead and click on Get Nextcloud, and then we'll go down to Desktop and Mobile Apps. Here we've got the three choices: Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And then we click on the other tab for Download for Mobile, and it gives us our links for Google Play, the App Store, and the Windows Store, where we can download the apps to our smartphone or tablet. Great job! You have Mail in a Box installed and configured. I want to go ahead and show you one problem that you might encounter, like I did when installing Mail in a Box. And to show you this problem, I'm going to jump back to my Mail in a Box admin portal, which, if you remember, is your host name with a /admin. So in my case, box.bitsvital.xyz/admin. Now that I'm back at my system page on my admin portal, take a look at this error. It says the IP address of the machine is listed in the spam, and I'm not going to pronounce that word, block list. What this means is that my static IP address that I'm using on Amazon AWS, most likely someone had it previously and used it for spamming. That's why Amazon does, when you created your Amazon AWS Lightsail account, why they do such a good job to check to make sure you are a real person, because they're going to try to cut down on spamming. And in this case, this IP address that they issued me was used for spamming. So if I'm sending out an email using this static IP address, it's probably going to go into someone's junk mail if it gets delivered at all. So what I want to do is go ahead and change my static IP address. It's very simple to do, and that way I don't have to worry about my IP address being blacklisted. So to do this, all we're going to do is jump back over to Amazon AWS Lightsail. I'm going to go ahead and click on my instance, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on networking, and then I'm going to click on detach static IP, confirm it, and then it's going to generate a dynamic IP address. So now I want to go back into home, click on networking, and go ahead and delete that static IP address from my Lightsail account. I'm going to go ahead and create a new IP address, but I want to make sure it's in the same location that my previous one was. I'm going to click on my instance that I've already created, my server, give the static IP address a name, and then I'm going to go ahead and click create, and now I've got a new static IP address. However, we need to update our DNS records to let the internet know what our new IP address is. So we need to update our address book, our DNS address book. So to do that, we're going to click on networking again. We're going to, under DNS zones, click on our domain name. And then there's only two records we have to update. The first, a record, and we're going to go ahead and just click on that field, and it's going to display our new static IP address. We're going to go ahead and choose that, click the green checkbox mark, and then we're going to head down to the additional a record, and we're going to do the very exact same thing, and we're going to choose our instance, choose the green check mark to say OK, and there we have it. We've given our server, our instance, a brand new static IP address. Now we need to let Mail in a Box know what our new static IP address is. So we're going to click on the terminal icon. We're going to go into our server, and we're just going to type in sudo mail in a box. We're going to press enter, and it's going to go through the configuration again, just going to ask us a few questions. We'll go ahead and press enter. We're going to confirm what the host name is. We're going to change the old IP address, and we're going to update it with our new IP address, and it's displayed down in the bottom left hand corner of the browser, just if you didn't write that down. And then we'll run through the installation, and then once the installation is complete, we'll exit out of the terminal, and then we can go back into Mail-in-a-Box admin portal. We'll log in, and we'll take a look at the system status check, and we'll scroll down, and we can see that our IP address is no longer blacklisted, that our IP address is in the green, and we are good to go. Just as a side note too, whenever you need to update Mail-in-a-Box, or let's say you want to change box.yourdomainname.com to office.yourdomainname.com or something else, that's exactly the same procedure. You'll open up the terminal, you'll type in sudo mail-in-a-box, and then you can update Mail-in-a-Box. It's that easy. Mail-in-a-Box has done a terrific job on being able to update it and to change it and making it very simple. Last but not least, I want to show you how you're able to set up Mail-in-a-Box with a third-party application. This could be Microsoft Outlook, Apple Mail, Mozilla Thunderbird. There's a ton of third-party applications, and this also includes your smartphone and your tablet devices. So if you're inside the Mail-in-a-Box admin portal, all you need to do is click on Mail and then click on Instructions, and it's going to give you the instructions. So if you've ever used Google Gmail and are trying to set it up on your phone, it's pretty much the same thing. They give Google Gmail gives you the instructions, and it's pretty much exactly the same. You're going to use the protocol IMAP. The mail server, of course, is your Mail-in-a-Box host name, which for me is box.bitsvital.xyz. The IMAP port 993, IMAP security SSL, SMTP port, which is the sending protocol 587. The SMTP security start TTLS, your username, which is your email address, and of course the password that's associated with your email address. And that's all you need to be able to configure these third-party applications. Now, if you have an Android device, you can also click on Contacts and Calendar, and it's going to show you, it's going to give you a link to an application that you can purchase. There's also a free version. I have the paid version, and I can tell you that it's well worth the $3.69. Not only that, but you're supporting Mail-in-a-Box when you purchase that application. That way you can sync your contacts and calendar. Now, if you're an Apple user, you do not need that application. Apple iOS has it built in. To sync your contacts and your calendars, it's pretty simple as well. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the link to the contacts, but of course all you do is go into Nextcloud, which is your hostname /cloud. This is just going to take me right into my contacts. And then if I click on Settings, I click the three-dot menu icon. I'm going to click Copy Link, and it's going to copy the link to my address book, which allow me to sync it. So if you're setting this up in Thunderbird or Apple Mail, or not Apple Mail, but Apple Contacts, or on your phone, and you're adding a new account to be able to sync your contacts with, you'll copy that link in, and then it's going to ask you for your username and password, which of course is your email address, and then the password that's associated with your email address. Same goes with calendar. I'm going to go ahead and click on my calendar. It's going to bring up my calendar, and then each calendar has its own associated link. So for example, my personal calendar, I'm going to click on the three-dot menu icon, and then I'm going to click on link, which displays the syncing link, or the CalDAV link to my calendar. I'm going to copy that, and then when I add that to, when I go into my Android phone and say add new account, or on my iPhone and I'm adding a calendar, I'll use that link, and then it'll ask you for your username and password, which again is your email address and then the password associated with your email address. Now that we've got Mail in a Box installed and configured, let me show you how we can connect your Mail in a Box server to a third-party mail application. For this training video, I'm going to use Mozilla Thunderbird. The reason for that is it's free and you can install it on Windows, Linux, and on Mac. Even though I'm using Mozilla Thunderbird, the procedure is going to be the same. Whether you're using Microsoft Outlook or Apple Mail or another program, where you go to configure it is going to be a little different, but the procedure and the settings are going to be the same. So that said, let's jump in and I'm going to show you how to configure Mozilla Thunderbird. To start off, let's go to the Mail in a Box admin portal. And to do that, again, we just put in the host name /admin, and then we're going to click on Mail and then Instructions. And here is the configuration that we're going to need, the configuration instructions that we're going to need to be able to set up Thunderbird. All right, let's go ahead and open up Thunderbird now. I'm on a Mac, so I'm using the Mac version of Thunderbird. Depending on what operating system you're on, Linux, Mac, or Windows, the procedure on how to set up mail, calendars, contacts, that's going to be the same no matter what operating system you're on. But where the menu items are might be a little bit different. So you might have to hunt those down, but the procedure is going to be the same. It's just that when I go into plugins, the menu icon might be somewhere else on your operating system version of Thunderbird. It might be on the left-hand side, might be on the right-hand side. But again, the procedure is going to be the same. That all said, let's go into the add-on manager where I can install plugins into Thunderbird. Now we need to add a couple plugins to make this work. The plugins are free, so we're just going to install them and then restart Thunderbird. The plugins that we need to install are the Lightning plugin, which is the calendar plugin for Thunderbird, provider for CalDAV and CardDAV, which is going to allow us to be able to sync our calendars and our contacts, and then the TB Sync, which it goes along with the provider for CalDAV and CardDAV. Another one that I like to install as well is what's called Nextcloud for File Link. And what that does is when you're sending an email that's greater than whatever you want to set in file size, so let's say 10 megabytes, instead of sending that file in an email, or let's say you're sending a file that's too large to send by email, what Thunderbird's going to do is upload it into a mail attachment folder in Nextcloud, and it's going to create a shareable link. Then when you email that email, it's going to send that shareable link instead of the file. And then when the user or the receiver receives the email, they can click on that link and download the file. That way, if you're sending a file that's too large to be able to go by email, you're not having to find a different way of being able to send them that file, like placing it on a USB thumb drive and mailing it to them. It makes it a very safe, secure, and fast way of sending large attachments. I'm not going to show you how to go in and configure it, but I just wanted to mention that is one of the plugins that I do like to install when using Nextcloud. All right, let's go ahead and install our mail account. To do this, let's go back to the welcome screen of Thunderbird. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Settings, and then from the drop down menu I'm going to click on Add Mail Account. I'm going to go ahead and enter in the fields that it's asking me for. My name, of course, David Swanson, and my email address, which is the email address that I use to set up my Mail in the Box account, david@bitsvital.xyz, and the password. I'm going to click on Continue, and it's not going to be able to find the server. So we're going to have to manually set it up, and that's where those instructions that we need come into play in Mail in a Box, back in the admin portal under Mail Instructions. We're going to use those configurations to set up our email account. For the incoming, we want to make sure that we choose IMAP and not POP3. So now that I have IMAP chose, I'm going to put in the host name of our Mail in a Box, which for me is box.bitsvital.xyz. I want to choose the port 993 and I'm going to use SSL. Then I'm going to go down to outgoing and SMTP is already selected. I'm going to again put in my host name, box.bitsvital.xyz. I'm going to choose the port 587 and start TLS for encryption. And then for my username for incoming and outgoing is my email address, david@bitsvital.xyz. Next, let's click on the retest button. Thunderbird's going to try to make a connection to our mail-in-a-box server, and as you can see, Thunderbird was able to connect. Now let's go ahead and click on Done. Let me show you how you can get into your email settings and how to add an outgoing signature to your emails. To do this, click on your email account and then right-click and go down to Settings. Here we can add our signature. I'm just going to put David Swanson and then bitsvital.xyz as my outgoing signature, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Next, let's go over to the inbox and let's send a test email to ourselves. I'm going to just enter my email address, david@bitsvital.xyz, and for the subject, I'm just going to enter Thunderbird, and for the body of the email, test. Now I'm going to click on Send, and there goes the email, and almost instantaneous, it comes right into us. I can click on it, and there's our email. And just like most email clients, I can reply, forward, archive, delete, send it to spam. There you have it. You've got your email all set up inside Thunderbird. Now let me show you the calendar feature of Thunderbird. To begin, I'm going to open up the calendar, and then I'm going to click on the menu icon, go to Add-ons, and choose TB Sync. From the drop-down, I'm going to choose Add New Account, and then CalDAV and CardDAV. Then I'm going to go ahead and choose Manual Configuration, click Continue. For the account name, this can be anything. I'm just going to put my domain name, bitsvital.xyz. My username is going to be my email address, david@bitsvital.xyz, and of course the associated password to my email address. I'm going to head over to Mail-in-a-Box Admin Portal and click on Contacts and Calendar. I'm going to click on the calendar link. I'm going to log into Nextcloud. In the calendar section, I'm going to click on Settings and copy the primary CardDAV address. Once I have that, I'll jump back over to Thunderbird, and I'm going to enter that in as the CalDAV address. Cal for calendar, card for your address book cards. I'm going to click on Contacts. Once Contacts is loaded, I'm going to head down to Settings, and then I'm going to click on the three menu icon menu button, click Copy Link, and head back on over to Thunderbird. I'm going to copy in the CardDAV link, and then click on Done. I'm going to place a check mark in the field Enable and Synchronize this account, which then will populate in my address book and my calendars. I'm going to place a check mark next to my address book and calendars that I want to have synchronized. I want to point out down at the bottom the field Periodic Synchronization in minutes. You're going to want to add a time frame to this. This is how often your calendar and your contacts are going to sync. And remember, it's in minutes, so if you're going to choose an hour or 4 hours, you're going to want to convert those hours into minutes. And that's how frequent your contacts and calendars will synchronize with your mail-in-a-box server. I have mine set for 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and I'm going to click on the Synchronize Now button, and when I do that, it's going to synchronize my accounts and bring in everything that we have from Nextcloud, including my contacts and my events. So as you can see over on the left hand side, it brought in my calendars, and it also populated in the events that we have already added into Nextcloud. So let's go ahead and add a new event. For the title, I'm just going to put in Thunderbird event, and then I'm going to go down to the time frame, and I'm just going to choose an all-day event and click on Save, and there's our event in our calendar. I'm going to move over and right-click on my personal calendar that I just added the event to, and I'm going to manually synchronize the events. That way it will automatically push it over to Nextcloud, since I don't have it automatically doing a synchronization every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes. Now let me show you the tasks. The tasks are over on the right hand side. There's also, you can open up a task tab, but over on the right hand side are my tasks, and I'm going to go ahead and enter a new task, and I'm going to put for the title Walk the Dogs. I can move on down and set a time for the task, or I can make it an all-day task as well. Once I have the time entered, I can click on Save and Close, which is going to add my task and sync it over to Nextcloud. Now that I've added an event and a task, let's jump over to Nextcloud and see how they show up inside Nextcloud. So I'm going to jump over to Nextcloud, and I'm in the contacts window. Let me click on the calendar icon and open up the calendar. And there you can see there's our event that we added in Thunderbird showing up in Nextcloud. And when I click on it, you can see all the materials there. It's an all-day event. So now let me click out of here and click on the task icon, and up comes our tasks, and there you can see our task that we added, Walk the Dogs. Okay, I've shown you events and tasks. Let's jump back over to Thunderbird, and I'm going to show you the address book. So I'm going to go back to the main menu and then click on address book. I'm going to slide over the vertical bar so that you can see that our address book from BitsVital is showing up with our contacts. I'm going to add a new contact to our address book. I'm going to add Jane Doe. I'm going to put in her email address, jane@yourdomain.com, and then I'm going to click on OK, and we've got Jane Doe added. Now I'm going to switch over to Nextcloud. I'm going to click on the contacts icon menu, and there we have Jane Doe. I can click on her, and there's her first name, last name, and email address that we added inside Thunderbird, so they're syncing. So that's it. That's how you set up Thunderbird with your mail-in-a-box server. It's really not that difficult as long as you have those mail instructions from the admin portal. It takes just a few minutes to get Thunderbird set up, so I hope this helps you. And remember, this is the same procedure for other third-party applications like Microsoft Outlook and Apple Mail if you're using a MacBook, even though the menu items are going to be not located in the same spot as Thunderbird because you're using a different application. The procedure is going to be exactly the same on how to add a IMAP account, how to sync your calendars and your contacts. It's the same. You're going to be using the same instructions that are showed up in the mail-in-a-box admin portal under mail instructions. Now that we have mail-in-a-box up and running, let me show you how you can connect it to your Android device, whether that's your Android phone or Android tablet. So the first thing you want to do is go into mail-in-a-box admin portal and click on the menu item Mail Instructions. These are the instructions we're going to use to set up your Android device for your mail, contacts, calendar, and tasks. For this training session, I'm going to use an Android emulator. I don't have an Android phone or tablet that I can use for training and recording the screen. So I'm going to use this emulator, and really there's nothing different other than it's on my computer screen and it's larger, so it's easier for me to record. That said, let's jump into the emulator, and I'm going to show you how to set up mail, contacts, calendar, and tasks. First thing we're going to do is set up a mail account. I'm going to use MailDroid. MailDroid is my favorite app for email using an IMAP account. I don't like the free one that comes with most Android and Android tablets and phones, so I use MailDroid. MailDroid is free. They also have some features that you can upgrade for a price. I did upgrade mine just because I love the app so much, but that's totally up to you. But even if you're using the free version that's on your phone or tablet, the procedure is going to be exactly the same, and you'll be able to follow along very easily. So let's jump into MailDroid and get our email configured. I'm going to go ahead and touch the MailDroid app icon, which brings us up to the licensing agreement. I'm going to click on Next, and then I'm going to scroll down on the different mail accounts that we can set up. We're going to choose other for mail in a box. I'm going to enter my email address, david@bitsvital.xyz, and the associated password, and then click on manual setup. I'm going to choose IMAP, and then I'm going to scroll down and put in the server address. And again, that's going to be box.yourdomainname.com. Mine is bitsvital.xyz. I'm going to choose secure connection, which changes the port to the correct port for IMAP, 993. I'm going to scroll down and set up the SMTP server. Again, for the server, it's going to be the mail in a box host name. For me, that's box.bitsvital.xyz. I'm going to choose secure connection, which automatically changes to the correct port, 587, and I'm going to click on next. And mail in a box brings up another licensing agreement that I have to click on accept, and some release notes, which then I'm going to go back. I'm not going to install the spam plugin right now, and there's my emails. I'm going to go ahead and create a new email, and I'm going to send this email to myself for a test email, david@bitsvital.xyz. For the subject, I'm going to put Mildroid, and for the body, test. And then I'm going to click on the send email icon. And the email comes into us. I can click on it, and I can reply, delete, archive. I'm going to click on the menu button. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to click on folders. And as you can see, there's that folder that we created in the lesson in the very beginning, the important folder. So it brings in all the folders as well. So that's how you set up your email on an Android phone or Android tablet. Now let me show you how you can set up your cloud storage using Nextcloud. And this is a lot like Google Drive and Dropbox. As you can see, I already have the Nextcloud app installed. Your tablet and your phone most likely will not have this pre-installed. It's a free app, but you will need to go into the Google Play App Store and install the Nextcloud app for your phone or your Android device. Once you have it installed, we'll go ahead and click on the Nextcloud app. As Nextcloud loads up for the first time, it's going to ask you to log in. So we're going to click on login. And then we're going to enter the server address to our mail in a box Nextcloud account. There's one very important thing you must remember. You're going to enter your host name, which is HTTP, and make sure you add the S for secure, / your host name, box dot whatever your domain name is. For me, it's bitsvital.xyz / cloud. Do not forget to enter the / cloud, or it's not going to be able to connect. Now I can click on the forward arrow, and it's going to test our connection, made a connection. I'm going to go ahead and click on grant access, which then brings us to where we log into Nextcloud, where you enter your email address and the associated password. Click login, and when you do this, it's going to populate in all your storage folders, your files. And as you can see, there's our folders that we created. Our HR folder, our marketing folder. I can click on the HR folder, and there's that file that I uploaded of me and my dogs. I can click on it, which brings up the photo. I can download the photo, I can delete it, I can send it to a friend. If I go over to the menu and click on settings, I can set up the auto upload. So if I'm taking pictures on my tablet or on my phone, it will automatically upload those photos to Nextcloud. So it's just like Google Photos. So now that we have Nextcloud set up, let's get our calendar and our contacts and tasks set up. The first thing we're going to do is go back over to Mail in a Box admin portal and click on Contacts and Calendar. Over there on the right hand side is a link to the CalDAV app that we're going to need for our Android device. There is a free version. I have never used it. I've always used the paid version, which I highly recommend. So let's click on the link and install the CalDAV app that we're going to need to set up our contacts, calendars, and tasks. When I click the link, it's going to bring me over to the Google Play App Store. I'm going to click on Install. If this is the first time you're installing this app, it's going to ask you to make a purchase to purchase this app. I've already purchased the app, so that's why it's not asking me to make the purchase. So I'm going to click on install and go through the install process. And once it's installed here, I'm going to click on open, and the app opens with a message. And I did this on purpose because I want you to see this message, because if you're like me, you're most likely going to install this app first without installing OpenTask. And you really need to install OpenTask first if you want to sync your tasks with your Android device. So now that we've seen this message, I'm going to uninstall the CalDAV app and install OpenTask first. So I'm going to have to go into Google Play and do a search for OpenTask. Now I'm going to uninstall the CalDAV app that I just installed. And to do this, I'm just going to click on uninstall and go through the uninstall process of uninstalling CalDAV. Once it's uninstalled, I'm going to jump back over to Google Play App Store and do a search for OpenTask. I'm now in Google Play, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the install button to install OpenTask, which is now going to download and install. And once OpenTask is installed, I'm going to go back into Google Play and reinstall the CalDAV and CardDAV application. I'm going back into Google Play again and click on the install button to reinstall the CalDAV application that we just previously installed and then uninstalled. So now that it's installed again, I'm going to click on open, and we don't get that FYI message. I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus button to install a new account into my CalDAV CardDAV application. I'm going to choose the second option, login with URL and username. To get the base URL, I'm going to jump over to Nextcloud and click on the calendar, and then down at the bottom left hand side is settings and import. I'm going to click on that and then copy the primary CalDAV account address and use that as my base URL. I'm going to paste that in, and then I'm going to put in my username and password, which of course is my email address and password. I'm going to choose login and then create account. The account's created, and I'm going to click on my account, which is going to populate in my address book and my calendars, where I can put a check mark next to the address books and calendars that I want to synchronize with my Android device. I can click on the synchronization icon, which is going to sync my address book and my calendars. And while we're here, let's click on settings, and we can choose the interval on how often we want our tablet or phone to synchronize our address book and calendars. I'm going to choose 4 hours for my address book and 30 minutes for my calendar, but you choose whatever you want, and depending on your battery life as well, how often you want to synchronize. So now that we have that, I'm going to go back, I'm going to get out of the CalDAV application, and let's take a look at our contacts. I'm going to open up the standard contacts application that came with my Android phone. And when I do that, you can see the addresses have populated in. Okay, let's jump over to our calendar application. The application that I use, and I highly recommend, not only do I recommend it, but it's the only one I could find that would work on an Android device with the task application to be able to sync our tasks. And that application is ACalendar Plus. It's an all-in-one application. It does calendars and our tasks with Nextcloud, and it will, with the CalDAV application that we installed, it will synchronize our events and our tasks. I love this app. I highly recommend it. It is not a free app, but again, it's the only application that I can find that actually works with the task app of Nextcloud. So I highly recommend it. And not only, if I wasn't even using it for Nextcloud, I would still be using this app. That's how much I like this app. To begin, let's click on the ACalendar Plus app to start our calendar app. I'm going to click on the menu icon, and I'm going to choose monthly view. When I do that, I can see my events that I had added to Nextcloud and Thunderbird. I'm going to add a new event to my app here. I'm going to click on the 28th and click on new event. For the title of my appointment, I'm going to put Android app, and just to make it easy, I'm just going to choose all day event and hit the check mark. So there's our event in our Android app. Let's bounce over to Nextcloud and refresh our calendar screen. And there you see it on the 28th, our Android appointment, which is an all-day event. So that's how we use the calendar. Now, if I click on the menu icon again, and if I scroll down, I can click on tasks. And I'll click on manage lists and accounts. And there's our account for our Nextcloud server, or mail in a box server. And when I do that, it's going to synchronize and bring in our tasks. Now, because I'm on a emulator, for whatever reason, it did not bring in the tasks. I don't know why, but it's because I'm on an emulator. If you're on a tablet or on a phone, it would actually bring in the tasks. So I'm going to jump over here to our app, OpenTask, which you'll probably never use if you're using A+ Calendar, but I just want to show you that the tasks did come in. And there's our calendars, and when I click on Personal, you can see the tasks under our personal calendar. Again, if you're using A Calendar Plus, you're just going to be using A Calendar Plus, and the tasks will be there, and you'll be able to add and sync your tasks all in one app. You'll never have to use OpenTask, so I usually just hide it in a folder. And that's how you set up your Android device. So I hope that was helpful. I apologize that I couldn't get the tasks to synchronize in the emulator. Now that you have your mail in a box up and running, let me show you how you can connect your mail in a box to your iOS device, whether that's your iPhone or iPad. For this video, I'm going to use an iPhone, but the procedure is exactly the same as if you're using an iPad. In fact, even if you're on a Mac computer, it's pretty close to exactly how it works on an iPhone or an iPad. That's the great thing about Apple. First thing you're going to need to do is download the Nextcloud app from the App Store. It's a free app, and this app lets you use the storage feature of Nextcloud. So it's a lot like Google Drive or iCloud, the storage feature of iCloud, or Dropbox. Now that we have Nextcloud installed, let's go ahead and click on the Nextcloud app. And on the very first screen, it's going to ask us to log in and allow notifications from the app, which I'm going to go ahead and do. And then we need to enter the server address of our mail-in-a-box server. Now, this is very important. The server address is the host name, which is HTTP, and make sure you add the S for secure, / the host name to your mail-in-a-box server. For me, it's box.bitsvital.xyz / cloud. Do not forget the /cloud. Other words, it's not going to be able to connect to your Nextcloud account on in the mail-in-a-box server. Now that we have the server address entered, we can click on Login, which brings us to the Grant Access screen. We'll click on Grant Access. We'll enter our username, which is our email address, and the password associated to our email address, and click Login. When we do that, it's going to populate in our cloud storage folders that are on Nextcloud and our files. And as you can see, there's our HR and marketing folder that we created earlier in the video in the Nextcloud web interface. I'm going to go ahead and click on the HR folder, and when I do that, there's the photo of me and the dogs that I uploaded earlier. If I click on the three-dot menu icon, it gives us a lot of options to the file, including even modifying the photo right inside the Nextcloud app. I can share it, I can delete it. I'm going to back out one screen, and then I'm going to click on the share icon. And when I do that, it brings up the share menu. And right from the Nextcloud app, I can email a link to someone. I can set an expiration date on how long that this user has access to this file. I can even copy the link and then share that link with somebody in iMessage or whatever app I'm using. I'm going to back out a couple screens, and then I'm going to click on More. From the More screen, I can see my transfers, my activity, how many shares I have. I'm going to go ahead and click on Settings, and at the very top you can see Auto Upload. I'm going to give my iPhone or iPad access to my photos, and whenever I take a photo on my iPhone or iPad, it's automatically going to upload those photos to my Nextcloud server. So it's kind of like a backup feature, and it's just like Google Photos. And that's how you set up your Nextcloud storage app on your iOS device. So let's go back to the home screen and set up our mail. I'm using the default mail app that comes with my iOS device. I have no problem with it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the mail app. The first screen that we see is asking us what type of email account we're going to be adding. I'm going to choose Other so I can add an IMAP account. Then it's going to just ask us for some basic information, my name, the email address associated to the account that we're going to be setting up, the password to my email address, and a description. And this can be anything. For me, I'm going to just add the name of my company that's associated with my mail in a box, BitsVital. I'm going to click on Next, and then it's going to ask us for settings for our mail in a box. I'm going to make sure IMAP is selected. And then for the incoming mail server, the host name is our host name of our mail in a box, which is, for me, box.bitsvital.xyz. And then the username is my email address and the password associated to my email address. The outgoing mail server, the SMTP server, the host name is exactly the same, which is our mail in a box host name. Box, for me, box.bitsvital.xyz. Username, again, is going to be my email address, and then the password associated with my email address. I'm going to click on Next. It's going to verify the settings that I entered, and then I'm going to make sure that Mail is selected and click on Save. When I do that, it's going to populate in those emails from my mail-in-a-box server, and there they are. Let's go ahead and compose a new email message. I'm going to click on the compose icon, and I'm going to just send a test email to myself, david@bitsvital.xyz. And then for the subject of this email address, I'm just going to put iOS test. And then for the test, or for the body of this email, I'm just going to add test and click on send. I'm going to give it a second, and in just a couple moments, that email is going to come back in, and there it is. I can click on that email. And from this email, I can reply, I can move it to a folder, I can delete it. I'm going to move back and I'm going to show you the folders. And there's the important folder that we created earlier in the video. So now that I've shown you how to set up email, let's get our calendar set up and syncing. For this video, I'm just going to use the standard calendar app that comes with my iOS device, with my iPhone or iPad. And to add the calendar, I actually have to click on Settings and then Calendar. I don't go into the Calendar app. So once I'm in Settings, I'm going to go down to the Calendar. I'm going to click on Calendar. I'm going to choose Accounts, and then I'm going to choose Add Account. I'm going to choose Other, and then Add CalDAV Account. When I click on that, it's going to ask me for the server address. I'm going to hop over to my browser and go into Nextcloud. I'm going to click on the three menu icon menu button. I'm going to click on Calendar, which brings up our calendar application. I'm going to go over on the left hand side, hit Menu, and then scroll down to the bottom and click Settings and Import. Make sure you copy the iOS OS X CalDAV address, not the primary CalDAV address right above. This is the one that is needed for your iOS device. I'm going to paste that address into the server field. Then I'm going to enter my username and my password, and of course, which is my email address. And for the description, I'm going to erase the CalDAV address, and I'm going to add my business, and this is anything you want. I'm just adding BitsVital. I'm going to click on Save. It's going to validate those settings that I entered, and I'm going to make sure I have calendar and reminders turned on. If I want to sync my tasks, make sure you have reminders turned on, and then click on Save. Now that I've clicked Save, I'm going to go back to the home screen, and I'm going to click on my calendar app. When I click on my calendar app, I can see the monthly view, and under the dates, there's dots, like on the 11th and 18th. I'm going to click on the 18th, and there's the test appointment that we created in the Nextcloud app. And then if I choose the 27th, there's the Thunderbird event. And again, on the 28th, if you watched the Android lesson, there's our Android event. I'm going to just choose another date, a blank date, the 26th, to create an appointment. I'm just going to put in iOS appointment. I'm going to make it an all-day appointment, and then I'm going to click on calendar, and I'm going to choose my personal calendar. I'm going to click on Add, and there's our appointment in our calendar app. And that's how you set up your calendar. Next, let me show you how we can do our tasks, or as Apple calls them, reminders. So I'm going to back out to the home screen, and then I'm going to click on my Reminders app, which I'm using the standard Reminders app that comes with the iOS devices with my iPhone or iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Reminders app, and there's my calendars. I'm going to click on my personal calendar, and there's the tasks or reminders that we have added previously in this video. I'm going to just go ahead and add a new task, add Nextcloud to iPhone, and that's it. That's how you set up reminders. Last but not least, let's set up our contacts. And to do that, we got to click on Settings again, and then we're going to go down to Contacts. I'm going to click on Contacts, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose Accounts, and then Add Account. It's going to ask us what type of an account we're going to add. I'm going to choose Other, and then Add CardDAV Account. When I do that, it's going to ask us for the server address. And once again, I'm going to pop over to my browser that has Nextcloud loaded in it. I'm going to choose Contacts from the main menu. And when I choose Contacts, I'm going to click on the menu button, and down at the bottom is Settings. I'm going to click Settings. I'm going to click the three-dot menu button. I'm going to click Copy Link. Then I'm going to hop back over to Settings, and I'm going to paste that into the server field. I'm going to enter my username and password, which of course is my email address, and then the password associated with my email address. I'm going to remove the description that automatically populates in, and I'm going to enter my business name. This can be anything that you want. For me, it's going to be BitsVital. I'm going to choose Next, which is going to verify the fields that I entered, and then my BitsVital account has been added. I'm going to go back to the home screen, and then I'm going to click on the Contacts app. Again, I'm just using the standard Contacts app that comes with my iOS device. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Contacts app to start it. And there's our contacts from our Nextcloud account. I'm going to add a new contact. I'm going to add Buster Doe. I'm going to add an email address for Buster. And once I have that entered, I'm going to click on Done. And there's our brand new contact. I'm going to go back to Contacts. I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going back to the home screen. So let's now bounce over to Nextcloud, to the web interface. So I'm going to enter box.bitsvital.xyz/cloud, and I'm going to choose Contacts. And once Contacts populates in, there's our brand new contact that we added in our iOS device, Buster Doe. I'm going to choose Calendar. And once our calendar app loads, there's our appointment on the 26th that we added, iOS appointment all-day event. Next, let's click on Tasks, and once our task app loads, there's our tasks, and there's the task that we added in our Reminders app, Add Nextcloud to iPhone. I can click on that task, and I can add additional features right inside the Nextcloud web interface. I can add a time or make it an all-day event, and I can do it in the Reminders app as well. So that's how you set up your iOS device with Mail in a Cloud. Thanks for watching my video on how to install Mail in a Box. I hope it was beneficial, and please leave me comments letting me know what you like, and if there's any additional videos that you would like to see, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to try to create them for you. I specialize in open source software for businesses, but if there's a particular video that you think would be helpful for you, please let me know and I will do my best to create it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.